we got a new horror movie on Netflix called Death Whisperer, and this is brought to us all the way from Thailand. We always love to jump on these foreign releases that just show up randomly on Netflix and no one talks about. We found some very cool films like that. And this one had an IMAX poster, which I think was something that really caught my attention. Like, oh, this must have been at least a big deal in Thailand. So it should be worth a view here. So I do want to say up front, this movie's 2 hours long, and it felt it.
It does feel it.
We actually watched this in like 3 different sittings, and somehow it still felt really long. Yeah. This movie could have been easily 30 minutes shorter, and it would have, I don't think it would have changed the film much at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you're cutting, but I think there's a lot you could, or just at least speed things up. I don't know, because there's a lot of repetition.
Yeah.
In the beginning, in the first like hour, like you said, there's like the film's like a one-trick pony as far as its horror elements go, and then after its first hour, then it starts to kind of ramp things up and change things around and get some new ideas and scares and whatever. But that first hour, yeah, it was fairly repetitive. So we are dealing with what I'll call the Y family. Why do I call them the Y family? Well, here's their names: Yak, Yard, Yom, Yos, Yod, Yi, Yen.
We were laughing at this. I don't know if these are...
Wait, where's Yam?
Common...
Yam's not even in here. And Yam's like the main freaking character.
I don't know.
That's funny.
I don't know if those are common names in Thailand, but we were just laughing at it because it was like 2 characters were introduced and they both had Y names that were three letters.
Yeah.
And then like all of them, the whole family has like 3-letter Y names. Y names.
It was funny.
It was really funny.
It was very funny in the moment because I was just like, I think like the first name we saw wasn't a Y name. We just thought it was funny, which was
Nart.
Nart. And we made a lot of Nart jokes for the next like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we got Yam. And I was like, Yam? Okay, I am what I am. And then it was like, Yart, Yak, Yawn.
I'm not gonna lie, it actually made it hard for me to know who was who for a bit.
Because all their names sounded,
they're similar,
yeah.
And I was just like, wait, who? And eventually, like, I know who, like, 4 people are, but then some of the others, I'm like, I'm not sure which one of those is which.
So, I mean, okay, this brother returns home after having been gone a while, and he comes back to his family's like farm, and the sister gets a curse on her, and the family bands together to try to save the sister from this curse. I mean, it's very simplistic, and it's something we've seen a million times, and we talk about this. A lot of these Asian films, especially like Indonesian, Thai, these times, it's always about someone returning to a small village. And we talked about it in just a recent review, and it's funny because it's just true. It's like every one of these movies, they come from the big city and they come back home, and then everyone there is like into curses and shit. And we even got people in the comments being like, "Yeah, I'm from there, and that's how it is."
Yeah,
like if you go to these small villages, you're like, you guys actually believe this stuff?
Sure.
So it's pretty relevant to these places, but. Okay, so while I will say the first like hour felt pretty hallmarky at times, we were establishing the family dynamic, which I think the family dynamic is the highlight of the movie. I really felt for them as a family. I felt like all the siblings were very believable together as a family. And I did want to see them get through this. I did find myself getting attached to Yak, the main brother, who is like way too handsome, and as Kaylee said, should have been you. Like it's funny. He wears this. He wears this white greaser type shirt.
Yeah.
And he keeps like rolling his sleeves up every time it's almost like a nervous tick. But he's like trying to like flex his triceps all the time as he's like getting up off things, and he's like a freaking Thailand supermodel. But I really liked him, and I really liked his relationship with all of his sisters and brothers, and I found that to be a really relatable and connected me to the film. While it did feel long, I did find myself invested in caring and want this family to get through this. So they definitely landed that. As far as the horror goes, the first hour, you just got repetition. But then, once we get to the climax, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. And there's a good amount laced throughout the second half of the film, but especially in that climax, there was some scenes where I was like, oh, that's really cool. There was some stuff that was happening on a road towards the end. I was like, oh, I like that. Oh, that was scary. Oh, that's cool looking. And I really liked that scene a lot.
Yeah.
And I wish we would have got a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
But this film has some good gore and is gross and nasty at times, and it's got a really good family dynamic. So I don't know. I quite liked it.
I agree with you. I did like the family, and I do like the gore and like the gross outs like that we get in this. And that scene that you're talking about on the road was probably my favorite sequence of the whole film because of the horror that's in that. I did quite enjoy it, but I thought like the rest of it felt so repetitive. Like I know you're just saying the first hour, but I feel like that bled through into the second half of the film, to be honest. And I feel like that scene that we're talking about on the road was like the only time when it was like different.
Yeah.
For me, the rest of the film kind of just like all the horror was exactly the same, and I was just kind of bored of it. I was like, all right, I get it. Like, but it just, and it also wasn't scary to me. I feel like that scene on the road did a good job, but the rest of the film, for me, I didn't feel like the atmosphere and the tension was built in a way that it could have been, especially with like what's happening with the family and like what, I think that there could have been more of a focus on like building the scares instead of just like showing kind of the same figure image like multiple times, and it just was attempting to be ominous, but to me I didn't get that at all from it. So I had a good time watching it because we were having fun with the names, and I think the family's very likable, and like you connect to them, and so I did enjoy watching it, but I do think it could have easily been an hour and a half. I think you could have put in more of those like unique scares in the beginning instead of all of the same over and over again. So I don't know. And the ending was interesting because it, without giving any spoilers of course, but it does kind of set up like there might be another film. So that was interesting to me. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah,
they're definitely trying to go for a sequel.
Yeah.
No doubt. And supposedly, from what we saw, this was a pretty big hit over there financially, so I would be surprised if we don't see a sequel. And I would watch a sequel. I hope that they learn from their mistakes here, and the biggest sin the film commits is that it is too redundant. You can cut out those redundancies, condense them, and get them together. But my family's here, and that's all we needed to say anyway. So, check it out. It's on Netflix, but it is very repetitive. I just think it's good. All right, guys. Bye.